Hi boys and girls, welcome to Storytime with Santa. We are so glad you are here. I'm Galen Price, Interim Assistant City Manager for the City of Waco. I'm here today with a quick introduction as Santa gets settled in with a few of his favorite holiday books that he selected just for you, along with a couple of classics such as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and The Night Before Christmas. Santa will also be reading two books that feature holiday traditions from around the world. No matter how you celebrate, the holiday season is a special time to create memories with the ones you love. So cozy up on the couch, sit back with some hot cocoa, and enjoy Storytime with Santa.
Now we're going to read about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer by Robert L. May. 'Twas the day before Christmas, and all through the hills the reindeer were playing, enjoying their spills. While every so often they'd stop to call names at one little deer not allowed in the games. Ha ha! Look at Rudolph, his nose is a sight. It's as red as a beet, twice as big, twice as bright. While Rudolph just cried, what else could he do? He knew that the things they were saying were true. Where most reindeers' noses are brownish and tiny, poor Rudolph's was red, very large, and quite shiny. In daylight it sparkled, the picture shows that. At nighttime it glows like the eyes of a cat. Although he was lonesome, he was always good, obeying his parents as a good reindeer should. That's why on this day Rudolph almost felt playful. He hoped that from Santa, soon driving his sleigh full of presents and candies and dollies and toys for good little animals, good girls and boys. He'd get just as much, and this is what pleased him, as the happier, handsomer reindeer who teased him. So as night and a fog hid the world like a hood, he went to bed hopeful. He knew he'd been good. Way up north on this same foggy night, old Santa was packing his sleigh for the night. This fog, he called out, will be hard to get through. He shook his round head, and his tummy shook too. Without any stars or a moon as our compass, this extra dark night is quite likely to swamp us. To keep from collisions, we'll have to fly slow. To see where we're going, we'll have to fly low. We'll steer by the street lamps and houses tonight in order to finish before it gets light. Just think how the boys and girls' hopes would be shaken if we didn't reach them before they awaken. Come Dasher, come Dancer, come Prancer, come Vixen, come Comet, come Cupid, come Donder and Blitzen. Be quick with your suppers, get hitched in a hurry. You too will find the fog a delay and a worry. And Santa was right, as he usually is. The fog was as thick as a soda's white fizz. He tangled in treetops again and again and barely missed hitting a huge speeding plane. Just not getting lost needed all Santa's skill, with street signs and numbers more difficult still. He still made good speed with much twisting and turning, as long as the street lamps and house lights were burning. At each house first checking what people might live there, he'd quickly pick out the right presents to give there. But lights will be out after midnight, he said, for even most parents will then have gone to bed. Because it might wake them, a match was denied him. Oh my, how he wished for just one star to guide him. Through the dark streets and houses, old Santa did poorly. Now he picked the presents more slowly, less surely. He was really worried, for what would he do if folks started waking before he was through? The night was still foggy and not at all clear when Santa arrived at the home of the deer. Onto the roof with the clouds all around it, he searched for the chimney and finally found it. The room he came down in was blacker than ink. He went for a chair, but turned out it was a sink. The first reindeer bedroom was so very black, he tripped on the rug and burst open his pack. So dark that he had to move close to the bed, a peek very hard at the sleeping deer's head, before he could choose the right kind of toy, a doll for a girl or a train for a boy. But this all took time and filled Santa with gloom, while feeling his way toward the next reindeer's room. The door had just opened when, to his surprise, a soft glowing red-colored light met his eyes. The lamp wasn't burning, the light came instead from something that lay on the head of the bed. And there lay, but wait now, what would you suppose? The glowing, you guessed it, it was Rudolph's red nose. So this room was easy, this one little light let Santa pick quickly the gifts that were right. How happy he was till he went out the door. The rest of the house was as black as before. So black that it made every step a dark mystery. And then came the greatest idea in all of history. He went back to Rudolph and started to shake him, of course very gently, in order to wake him. And Rudolph could hardly believe his own eyes. You can just imagine his joy and surprise at seeing who stood there a paw's length away and told of the darkness and fog and delay. And Santa's great worry that children might waken before his complete Christmas trip had been taken. And you, he told Rudolph, may yet save the day. Your bright shining nose, son, can show us the way. I need you, young fellow, to help me tonight, to lead all my deer on the rest of our flight. And Rudolph broke out in such a big grin, it almost connected his ears and his chin. He scribbled a note to his folks in a hurry. I've gone to help Santa, he wrote. Do not worry. Said Santa, meet me in my sleigh on the lawn. You'd stick in the chimney, and in a flash he was gone. So Rudolph pranced out through the door very gay and shook his proud place at the head of the sleigh. The rest of the night, well, what would you guess? Old Santa's idea was a brilliant success. And brilliant was almost no word for the way that Rudolph directed the deer and the sleigh. In spite of the fog, they flew quickly and low. They made such good use of the wonderful glow that shone out from Rudolph at each intersection, that not even once did they lose their direction. At all the houses and streets with a sign on them, the sleigh flew real low, so Rudolph could shine on them. To tell who lived where and what to give whom, they'd stop by each window and peek in the room. Old Santa knew which children were good and minded their parents and ate like they should. So Santa would pick out the gift that was right, with Rudolph close by, making just enough light. It all went so fast that before it was day, the very last present was given away. The very last stocking was filled to the top, just as the sun was preparing to pop. The sun woke the reindeer in Rudolph's hometown. They found the short message that he'd written down, then gathered outside to await his return. And were they surprised and excited to learn that Rudolph, the ugliest deer of them all, Rudolph, the red-nosed, bashful and small, the funny-faced fellow they had always called names and practically never allowed in their games, was now envied by all, far and near, for no greater honor can come to a deer than riding with Santa and guiding his sleigh, the number one job on the number one day. The sleigh and its reindeer soon came into view, and Rudolph still led them as downward they flew. On my way he was proud they came to a landing, right where his handsomer playmates were standing. The same deer who used to do nothing but tease him would now have done anything only to please him. They felt even sorrier had they had been bad when Santa said, Rudolph, I have never had a deer quite so brave or so brilliant as you at fighting black fog and steering me through. But you, last night's journey was actually bossed. Without you, I'm certain we'd all have been lost. I hope you'll continue to keep us from grief on future dark trips as Commander-in-Chief. While Rudolph just blushed from his head to his toes, till all of his fur was red as his nose. The crowd first applauded, then started to screech, "Hooray for our Rudolph! We want a speech!" But Rudolph, still bashful despite being a hero, was tired. His sleep on the trip totaled 0. So why his speech was made short and not bright, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. And that's why whenever it's foggy and gray, it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed who guides Santa's sleigh. Be listening this Christmas, but don't make a peep, 'cause that late at night, children should be asleep. The very first sound that you'll hear on the roof, that is, if there's fog, will be Rudolph's small hoof. And soon after that, if you're as still as a mouse, you may hear a switch as he flies round the house and shines enough light to give Santa a view in your room, and when they're all through, you may hear them call as they drive out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Nochebuena by Roseanne Greenfield Thong. 'Twas Nochebuena, and all through our casa, every creature was needing tamale masa. For one of our holiday tradiciones is making tamales, not one, but montones. Every last person, both chicas and chicos, is needed to make our tamales taste ricos. We stuff them with pollo and queso and meat, and steam them in corn husks and leaves. What a treat! Our lovely adornos are hung up with cheer, in hopes that amigos soon will be there. Small figures of wise men, los reyes and sheep, and tiny clay cama where baby can sleep. In the corner an arbor that's covered with bells, twinkling luces, red ribbons and shells. When our guests all arrive, we stroll down to the park and join the posadas that start when it's dark. With homemade faroles that grow in the night, we sing canciones by soft candlelight. From casa to casa parading we go, remembering stories from days long ago. La Pido Posada is our humble plea. Can you offer us shelter? We ask hopefully. The first two houses do not agree, but the very last house will always say, "Si." Then back to our family fiesta we race, to snuggle up close by the brick fireplace and treat all our shivering invitados to warm mugs of chocolatey champurados. We clink our glass marbles and play loteria, while singing and laughing, que maravilla. When out in the jardín I hear such a clatter, I spring from my silla to shout, "What's the matter?" The children are cheering below a great star, a brilliant piñata made out of a jar. Come Sonia, come Alma, Luis and Martin. It's time for our favorite games to begin. Dale, dale, hit it, they cry. Unos, dos, tres, now it's your try. A shower of candy soon falls to el suelo. We chase after gum and sweet caramelo. Then off in the distant campanas chime, telling us that it's nearly time for Misa de Gallo, our mass late at night. With candles aglow, it's a beautiful sight. And all our favorite canciones with choirs of angel up in the balconies. And when it's over, we get a surprise as colorful fireworks paint the night skies. Then back to our houses we run happily, knowing our cena has finally begun, with pots full of Grandma's steaming pozole and sauce for our turkey, a treat we call mole. And just when we've eaten as much as we can, we hear a loud sizzle from Grandmother's pan. The children all cheer as they wait for their treat. Buñuelos with cinnamon sugar, so sweet. With satisfied bellies and sleepy eyes, we head to the sala for one last surprise. Giggling and cheering, we dash for the tree, where regalos are waiting for you and for me. We open our cards that were chosen with care, with long strands of Santa fly out everywhere. A smile from Papi, a kiss from a friend, and many abrazos that don't seem to end. Now our friends are all tired from fun and fiesta. It's time to go home for a long night's siesta. Merry Christmas, they cheer as they head out of sight. Feliz Navidad, and to all a good night. Now we're going to read Holidays Together by Sophia Day. Yesterday's turkey is all gobbled up. We pile into Grandpa's truck and shop for new toys, hats and mittens, balls and games, and wraps and ribbons. The holidays are just beginning, special days for joy and giving. Family comes from out of town, and everywhere I look around are twinkle lights and paper chains, trees and wreaths and candy canes. We measure, mix, and bake all day to set out Santa's cookie tray. What's underneath the tree? A gift for you. This one's from me. Dressed up in my brand new clothes, I'm feeling fancy from head to toe. I'm ready for parties and celebrations with neighbors and friends and family relations. On special days, we feast and fast. Thinking of others, I put myself last. We look for ways to do a good deed and give to others who are in need. Potato pancakes, crispy hot, and gooey donuts hit the spot. We give out melty chocolate coins and little gifts for girls and boys. Each night we light the holy candles, sing and dance and spin the dreidels. With tummies and faces aglow, Saba tells stories from long ago. We spend time with our family and celebrate our unity and values that our culture holds, traditions shared around the world. Giving thoughtful, helpful gifts, we gather with our family and friends. We share songs, stories, and finger plays, dancing to the rhythm of djembes. On New Year's Eve, we watch and wait. Midnight when we celebrate, with fireworks, confetti poppers, bubbly juice, and whoops and hollers, with sweet mooncakes and fresh hot dumplings, red envelopes with good luck monies. We fill our hearts with hopes and dreams and tie them on the wishing tree. Shopping, ribbons, decorating, wrapping presents, goodie baking, parties, dinners, little gifts, family stories, lifelong friends. Hoping, dreaming, wishing, sharing, laughing, loving, giving, caring. With all our friends in their own ways, let's celebrate the holidays. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, the classic edition by Clement Clark Moore. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads, and Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lovely and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, while he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetops the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew back my head and was turning around, down the chimney came St. Nicholas with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back. He looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes how they twinkled, his dimples how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye, a twist of his head, soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk. And laying his fingers aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle. They all flew like a down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night."